welcome to the final session for today. AR and VR technology are in the early stages of adoption, and key innovation is necessary for strong market growth. I'm Angela McIntyre. I'm the lead analyst for wearables at Gartner. I talk with our clients and enterprises and at VC firms about emerging user requirements for head-mounted displays. At AWE, we've heard presentations from a large range of startups showcasing their latest innovations and technology for AR and VR. But in this session, we get to hear from our leading investors for AR and VR technology and find out what they think are the key enablers for adoption. Gentlemen, I'll please ask you to introduce yourselves and to quickly talk about the companies you have in your portfolios related to AR and VR.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me okay? Great. So my name is James Lee. I'm a principal software engineer at Orange Silicon Valley. So Orange Silicon Valley is one of the innovation centers of Orange. We have the headquarters based in Europe, in Paris. So we are the branch office based in San Francisco downtown. We have around like 50 people, including the engineers and analysts. So covering different subjects, like including AR, VR, and MR, and also high-performance computing, and also IoT, food tech, fintech, and also connected cars and more. So, so currently, I'm leading the enterprise AR, VR activities in-house. And by working with our customers closely, and also the local ecosystem partners and the startup companies, so we propose like a proof of concepts and rapidly and try to address our customers' needs and solve their problems. So besides that, we also have an investment arm called Orange Digital Ventures. So, we started like 2 years ago. So far, like we have invested in about 10 companies. So including a AR VR company is a VR content publishing company called Viver or VVR. So if you are familiar with. So and we are open for more AR VR solution companies for investment purpose. And part of my job is to do the due diligence. We analyze, we identify, we discover companies, and then we propose that to our headquarters and also our investment arm for investments. Right, thanks.
Hey everybody, my name is Wang. I'm the founding partner of Outpost Capital. So we are a $20 million early stage VC fund specializing VR AR investment based in San Francisco. And as I mentioned, we specialize in VR AR investment, so we have a lot of VR AR portfolio. Briefly, can be classified into 4 different categories. Content companies such as the Rogue Initiative, which just raised their Series A quite recently. We have B2B type of companies like Visby, which is developing a light field capturing technology. We have companies in the also in enabling technology category. For example, Humans is developing a volumetric video capturing solution, and we also have platform type of investments like the Wave VR, which is developing a VR music social platform.
Hi everyone, my name is Steve Lukas, and most recently I was with Qualcomm Ventures, where I looked at all the AR VR investments for the last 3 years, as my mission was to find companies that would advance the mobile ecosystem. When we saw Oculus Rift for the first time, we identified that the future of computing was VR and AR, and the future of VR and AR was mobile. So that fit right into our sense of portfolio and things that we were looking to invest in. The companies that I was actually part of in the investments were Magic Leap, which is doing a future mixed reality type of experience, and they appear to be raising some more money and have so far raised over $1.3 billion in funding, of which Qualcomm was part of. And the other major company that we identified during my time was Alchemy Labs, which does content you may be familiar with, such as Job Simulator, which is on the HTC Vive, PlayStation VR and the Oculus Rift.
Congratulations on the exit.
Thank you. Alchemy Labs recently was acquired by Google just about a month ago. That was announced. And so it was nice to see this very excellent team doing some astounding work. And they were a company we invested in because we saw them as pioneering the desktop tethered VR industry. They understood interactions and how to manipulate a VR world very well, better than anyone we'd ever seen. And Google identified, as we did, that if we can take their insights and use them to power the future of mobile VR, then that's what's going to take this industry forward into the future.
Great, thanks.
Hi, I'm Matt Miesnieks from Super Ventures. We're a pre-seed and seed stage investment fund. There's 4 of us as partners in the firm, including myself and Tom and Ori, who run AWE event, and our 4th partner's Professor Mark Billinghurst. So what I think is unique about our firm is that all 4 of us come from operational backgrounds in AR and VR for like 7, 8, 9, 20 years in Mark's case. And with that, I guess, long exposure to what goes into making successful AR and VR products, we try and find what we call the building blocks. What are the blocks that need to go into these products before they can become widely adopted and widely used? And we try and invest at the absolute earliest stages, where could be 2 very technical entrepreneurs, pre-product or pre-revenue, and we're quite happy to, I guess, trust our own instincts that this is an important problem to be solved, and try and back them as early as we can. So companies like Quantum Capture, who are doing very photorealistic digitization of human avatars, like down to the pores in your skin and photorealistic stubble, and a couple of computer vision companies. There's a company that launched today, I think, called Massless, who are doing very precise enterprise-type input stylus for VR and AR, and Cognitive VR, who are building a analytics-driven developer tool for large enterprise VR teams.
Fantastic. And technology building blocks is what we're talking about today. The key enabling technologies, and one of those that you hear a lot about is light field technology. So Ryan Wang, could you please let us know, for people who might not, what light field technology is and what you see some of the key capabilities that are needed to enable it?
Right. So I think people heard about the term light field technology in VR, AR a lot, but to me, my definition goes in that light field technology is a technology that it's not a single technology. It's actually a technology stack from capturing side to data encoding, decoding, compression side to eventually display side, right? That's why for companies like Lytro or companies like Magic Leap, they are doing very different things, but both companies are working on the light field problem, because Lytro is working on the capturing side, but Magic Leap is more working on the light field display, right? So first of all, it's a stack of technology, and compared to traditional technologies, I think light field is better in 2 ways. Number one, you can be more immersive, and here by saying immersive, we really mean you can have a true 6-degree of freedom experience from a light field captured and light field displayed experience, right? So number one is immersive, and number 2 is photorealism, right? So basically, the quality of the image will be so much better than the traditional computer vision, no matter it's pixel-based data like photos or videos, or polygon-based data, which a lot of volumetric video capturing companies are currently using at this point. So basically, at the end of the day, if light field technology goes very mature, the image, the vision is something that when you look at a light field data, it's not like when you're looking at the screen, the display we have today, that your brain knows instantly that it's fake, right? It's a fake world. It will more be like, okay, you are looking through a portal, and on the other side of on the other side of the portal is another world. That's that's where light field is leading us to at the end of the day.
Wonderful. Yes, one thing that I find fascinating about light field is it really describes a way of taking the real world and translating it into the virtual world. Any other thoughts on light field?
Yeah, so we looked at Lytro and invested in them very early on as they were doing a light field capture, and now they're doing a volumetric light field capture for video. And we also looked at Magic Leap, and we've seen several other companies doing light field. And what's really interesting about it is currently a lot of VR technology simulates depth using very similar concepts as 3D TV and 3D glasses with say a comic book or a ViewMaster. And what you're getting is a mismatch, and this is really deeper than we should be going into now, but there's a mismatch in what we call vergence and accommodation. And essentially it's that focus ring. If you're holding a camera with a single lens, then you turn a focus ring and you can see how you can perceive depth with a single eye. Now, with stereoscopic and 3D TV, then when you close one eye, you can't simulate any depth. Everything is on a flat screen a certain distance away. But with depth field, or with light field, you get that depth of field with a single eye. And in that sense, even someone who's blind in one eye, like my father, would be able to perceive simulated depth with light field. And that it's a more natural, comfortable feeling. And this is a much more future-looking technology, and there are other sessions about that this week from Avegant Glyph. And that's definitely where we're going in order to simulate the natural world in the way that we perceive it ourselves.
Wonderful. And one great thing about having these virtual worlds is going to be the ability not to be tethered, to be able to walk around in them and explore as we would a building. Matt Miesnieks, I was wondering if you have some insights on enabling technologies that are needed to allow us to be free from wires.
It's a really interesting sort of this whole range of problems that need to be solved there. You know, most of the experiences that people get today are either tethered, with a cable to your Rift or your Vive, or they're mobile, so like a Daydream or a Gear VR, and you get compromises in both. So to somehow get the benefits of having no cables but still get that rich user experience, there's a whole range of problems to be solved. It's not just one solution. So that's that's an area that at SuperVentures we're paying really close attention to and trying to find people working on some of these solutions. And it covers everything from how do you get the video data wirelessly from maybe your PC to your headset. And we invested in a company called Nitero that was doing that, and they were bought by AMD a few months ago. There's technology around position tracking and being able to do that with cameras and sensors inside the device. And right now, that's kind of it's definitely solved in research labs, and it's sort of coming into products soon. But it's still restricted to sort of areas about as big as a room, and getting that tech beyond the room to outdoors and very large areas is still like a really wide open space full of opportunities. And lastly, when you start to get untethered or mobile, problems that come up that weren't problems when you were just sitting in your chair, and that's everything from like tripping over the coffee table, when your VR system is on, through to putting your device on in a brand new city that you may have gone to for the first time, and how does it know where it is, and how does it figure that sort of accurately enough where it is so that you can put new content into the system. So that's so if anyone's sort of thinking of working on that sort of area or is working on those sort of technology, there's opportunities for startups, in computer vision, in hardware, in the cloud, and yeah, we'd love to talk to you if you are.
Yeah, so from the telco perspective, so we also look at like the wireless solutions, like so companies including Qualcomm and others, in terms of like the form factors or the Wi-Fi chipsets. So Qualcomm is pushing out on the 5G. So 5G is going to be available by 2020. So and some companies are start doing the field trial very soon. So I believe so the wireless AR or wireless VR will be the next big thing, and being a standalone device. So that will be the next one, yeah.
Fantastic. Well, there's also AR to consider, and you certainly can walk around with AR glasses. So, James, you invest in a company that does AR technologies for
Oh, actually,
wearables.
so the company we invested in is a VR content publishing company.
okay.
So it's a VR, but we are open for any AR-related solution as well.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. All right then. Yeah. And what about new user interfaces? Things even like controlling with your thoughts. What do you think about that? That's farther out.
So controlling with the thoughts is definitely very forward-looking. It's very future-looking. And one thing I want to mention is that everything we're looking at in VR right now, all the companies that are working on VR and AR can be thought of as one immensely gigantic R&D department. And we're all working in a different sector. And whether we're well-funded by a corporation or we're funded self-funded or through investment, then every company working on VR and AR is doing massive R&D for our eventual VR AR future. And when I say this, to consider that some of these things that we're working on are more near term, some are midterm, and some are very far term. And neural lace, or being able to do things with our thoughts, then I know there are some companies that we've looked at that are present now, that MindMaze is one of them that we looked into, that are more about controlling the experience with your thoughts. But ultimately, we're looking at doing possibly, look at what Elon Musk has been talking about, integrating with a VR with our actual brains. And this is a very future-looking, and why I mentioned the R&D analogy. So for me, as an investor, what I like to look at are what do we need to do to achieve the next level of the VR industry in the short term so that we can get to the medium term. Because if all we're working on is the long term, then we are drilling in too deeply into a market that we have not yet saturated. So that's something to be very cognizant of when determining what is your startup thesis.
Important, yeah. Hey, we just have 2 minutes left, so I want to pose one last question to you all. Could you please think about what technologies for AR and VR are you most interested in for future investment? And Matt Miesnieks, can we start with you?
Okay. So I mentioned the whole computer vision and understanding the world and being able to move around. So I'll put that aside. Another area that I am really interested in, and it touches on input, right now, most of the input systems that we use are a single mode. It might be voice, or it might be gestures, or a touch, or something. And I, based on a lot of research from our partner, Mark Billinghurst, I'm really interested in seeing tech and solutions that are multimodal, that can combine a gesture with voice, with computer vision, and somehow intelligently tie those together to give a much more natural means of input to the system.
So my thoughts on the best companies to invest in right now are the ones that are going to help us get to the next finish line. And augmented reality is amazing and the future, but we still need to conquer virtual reality to get to augmented reality. And the way I see it is there's a lot of folks who are only interested in augmented reality, to which I call that the jet plane with the jet engine. And yet virtual reality, by comparison, would be the propeller plane, which we still need to make work very well and shouldn't ignore to try to get to the far future. So companies that are looking at that space and saying, how do we make VR better, more available, and again, saturate the market so that we can get enough return on investment that we're not just relying on venture money, but are also getting a good revenue stream in order to support the continued development of VR to push us into the next wave of computing. That's what I find important. That's what I find interesting.
Thanks. Ryan Wong.
I feel like Matt just stole my answer to this question. So I definitely agree with Matt in that input is a very critical piece of the puzzle at this point. And for all the traditional computing platform, for PC we have the keyboard and mouse. For our smartphone we have the touch screen, right? So this kind of input mechanism fit into pretty much 99% of the use cases. But for VR and AR, we don't have a very generic input solution that can cover 99% of the use case at this point. So I definitely think input and control is one of the key areas to solve in this short term. And in the long term, I think live field is one of the critical technologies, and as well as haptics that Matt has also kind of mentioned. So that's in terms of technology, but in terms of what I'm looking at, I think one of the things I'm looking at in particular is that any kind of product, service, or business that is able to convert people from non-VR users, non-VR AR users into VR AR users, I think that's going to be critical for the next 2 to 5 years down the road. So
Thank you. James Lee, you get the last word.
Sure. Okay. So yeah, from the telco perspective, like Orange, so we mainly focus on the next thing. So AR, VR, so as like a fourth platform, so it's going to impact our life and also will change the way that we communicate, the way that we collaborate at work as well. And and it's not alone. So if you look at outside, so there's another like hot technology trend like AI, machine learning, deep learning. So I believe in the future, so for our consideration, so it's like a combination of the AR, VR tech plus the AI or machine learning, such as like computer visions and like scene understanding, contextual understanding. So in a way that can optimize the process, like we call the process automations, that can make people's life easier and improve people's life in return. So that's something that we are interested in looking into.
Fantastic. Well, let's thank our panelists for their insights. Thank you so much, gentlemen.
Thank you. Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
good job, Matt.
Thank you, Angela.